What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Panfro Games, and today I will be reviewing Neon Abyss. I play Neon Abyss on PC using the experimental build. This game is also on PS4, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch, all for $20. However, the PC version is the only one with the experimental build, which is the best version of the game currently right now. So keep note to that when checking out the review, as the experimental version is the best, and the PS4, Xbox, and Switch versions have not received a patch yet, which I feel like this game desperately needs. If you are not, playing the experimental version, is definitely not a finished game if you're not playing the patch version. So this game, Neon Abyss, is like Binding of Isaac and Dead Cells. It is a roguelike. It's pretty great overall in terms of gameplay. It feels good, but I would say overall the game is shallow, and I'll dive into that. So the upgrade system helps you unlock different characters. So there's multiple characters to play as in the game, and there is day one DLC with 2 characters already. And the upgrade system helps you unlock different rooms. So you'll see like an arcade room where you can like jump on piano keys, or an arcade room where you can play like a grab machine, right? And a bunch of different other rooms, right? And you also unlock weapons through this upgrade tree and items that you can use and find throughout the game. So it just gives you more options for your other runs, which is pretty great, and I think that system works really well. And you get more currency for that upgrade system when you defeat bosses, and you get a boss at the end of every single level. And then there's major bosses starting at level 5, then 7, then 8, and then so on and so forth. And there's only 5 major bosses in the entire game, but each level does have a different boss from a small pool of bosses with 3 different variants for each boss. So that's your general story gameplay path in that sense, where go through the different levels and defeat all the enemies, get enough items to level up your character, then defeat the boss, and just keep continuing that. So it's like your typical roguelike in that regard. It definitely reminds me a lot of Binding of Isaac in that sense, because there's like item rooms, devil rooms, and heaven rooms. You get familiar with the different room layouts and just how things are generated. And then you start thinking of how to use like your resources to the best ability. Like, do I set my bombs for this room? Should I use my coins on this or this? Like things like that. So there's a lot of resource management and trying to optimize your run in that regard, which is always a fun time. And I think that's this game does that pretty well overall. So there's like I said, there's a good selection of characters, and they have unique abilities. And besides the characters, you also have 51 guns total in the game. And the guns are good overall. However, I feel like a lot of them feel too similar. Even in like the only thing separating each gun is like a unique active ability. For like a good amount of them, we'll say like 10-15 do feel very similar, and it's sort of just like a color change or a slight change to their spread. It's not too much of a difference. So I feel like more diversity or a better level up system could be involved with these weapons. There is a lot of items in the game. There's actually a crap ton. There's definitely over 100 items in this game that you can pick up. And a lot of these items happen to be passive, which is, it's an interesting choice, but it doesn't really necessarily change up your gameplay. And which is my problem with the items, is a lot of them are very similar. They offer the exact same effects or similar effects. Like, yes, there's some active ones, but a lot of them, like, just give you another jump, as an example. Like, I feel like there's 5 or 6 that actually just give you another jump, which is, I guess that's great and all. However, it's just, it seems like they have maybe 30 or 40 different actual unique items, and then they just gave different, a different sprite to the same item and just called it something else, which I think is definitely unfortunate, which it goes into my shallow comment from before. And there is eggs in this game, so eggs are equivalent to pets as in Binding of Isaac. However, I feel like this is a much more half-baked system. The eggs hatch after every so rooms, depends per egg. And if it hatches, sometimes it can hatch to nothing, and sometimes it has to be a pet. And the pets, some can level up, and they level up by defeating enemies in the rooms. They also have HP, so if they get hit and die, they're done for good, right? My issue with the pet system right now is pets just feel like they sort of follow you, and they don't have too much of an influence on the fight, unless it's a pet that necessarily like blocks of bullets, which is always great. Like orbitals are always solid, you know, but I feel like they just aren't explored deep enough, and they just feel like they just follow you. In some runs, I'll have like 20 pets just after me the entire time, and it's just like, well, I don't know what they're really necessarily doing and helping my run improve, but they're just, you know, they're just here, and I feel like a lot more could have been done with them. So yeah, and you know, your typical like roguelike, there is like gonna be bombs and keys and other items too, so very similar itemizing. And as you can see, I just went to a secret room and found a secret piano room, so there is fun little explorable things like that. Well, you definitely want to keep an eye out on the map for similar items. I will say there is not enough rooms. After playing this game for 10 hours, there's not enough unique rooms. I've been through a lot of the same rooms over and over again with the same enemies, and it's just, oh, here's an enemy with slightly more HP, slightly different colors, but not a lot of unique stuff. I mean, especially going through the first 3 areas, I'm just not seeing a lot of uniqueness between the enemies at all, which is very disappointing. And it, honestly, the runs do last too long, in my opinion, for where you're getting. So like getting to the 3rd boss, it's like your run is already over an hour. By the time you're at the 4th and 5th boss, you're going towards like an hour and a half, on hour 45 just for your run. And it would be one thing if the runs felt more unique, but what's unique is really what weapons you're picking up and the items you're picking up. But all the enemies in the rooms are virtually ending up to be the same, and even the bosses, with the small variety of the bosses. And yeah, each boss does have a 3 boss variant, well, except for the main ones, which are always static and where they appear too. But like this boss I'm fighting right here, he has 3 versions of him, but they just never feel hard. I feel like all of those bosses are incredibly easy, and it leads to like balancing issues overall with the game. The crystal system is pretty good. You can see that I have crystals underneath my heart, and with those crystals I can use active abilities. Essentially, think of it as mana, but I can use the mana to open doors, crystal doors, like the shop. So if I had 3 crystals, I could open up the shop, or I can use it as like essentially mana for whatever active ability I have. Or if I had a crystal, I could use it to talk to that crystal, and then it would increase my purple meter that was in the bottom right. But because I hit it, it turned red. So if you are able to max your purple crystal bar, you get a free item room. However, if you get a red max crystal bar, you get a free item room. However, you do have to give up a heart in order to get to that room. So yes, it's, you know, I think it works. It sort of reminds me of like the angel rooms and devil rooms in Binding of Isaac, especially the devil rooms. I think it's a good system that works. For the most part, I do think sometimes it's weird that I can shoot a crystal door and it counts as a violent act against the door when it doesn't necessarily. I don't know, it feels like something should be taken out for gameplay consideration, especially when towards endgame, where you just go into a room and you're just unleashing all your ammo immediately because that's sort of what you have to do. Also, enemy attacks can trigger the crystal, which I do think is super lame overall, and because you really have no control over that. Onto some other things. Speaking about like late game, it's really hard to see enemies in late game, because when you usually enter a room in late game, yours is probably some crazy insane weapon, laser, and you're just blasting away, and enemies are shooting these pellets at you, and it's pretty much near impossible to see because your weapon bullets, especially if it's a laser, overtakes their bullets. So you're really not going to be able to see, and it's hard to dodge. And especially you add that on top of like the 15 peps you have around you, all the things that, you know, you're wearing, it's really hard just to see in general. So I do wish there was more visual feedback on when enemies are actually doing damage to you and shooting at you. I wish it was easier to see, because I do have a huge problem with that, especially for late game. I definitely had runs where I'm like, wait, why am I dying? I didn't even realize I'm getting hit. And yeah, I think there are general balance issues. I think the beginning of the game is incredibly easy every single time, no matter what gun I end up using. And it's really easy until I get right before the second boss manager, which is the 7th level. I think once I hit that point, that's where the game takes a sudden turn for a little bit too hard. And I know they're tweaking the dual theme, the experimental version, but it's a lot worse balancing wise in the console version of the game right now. On a positive note, I will say the seed system's great. So every run has a seed, and you can give that seed to a friend, and or if you really like this seed, you can just go to the seed area in the hub world and just type in the seed, and you can just do that run again, which is great. I also do like the options that you can turn on certain weapons and pets on and off. However, you cannot earn achievements when that happens, but it is, it's a cool little feature to have. The music is incredible. Definitely highly suggest checking out my YouTube channel just to see the full OST of the music that I have uploaded. It's pretty awesome. I will also have to say there is really no plot, so if you are expecting a story of some sort, this is not the game for you. There's virtually no plot. And one last thing I will say, yes, this game is completely focused heavy on guns, but there is a melee system, which is completely ignored and not really used and pretty awful, so don't use melee. You accidentally use melee if you're too close to an enemy. If you automatically do use melee if you're too close to an enemy instead of shooting your gun, but the damage is pretty much awful, and it's sort of a meme, and I wish they would take it out of the game. Overall, Neon Abyss is a fun game, but it does feel a little bit half-baked, and it feels like this game should have stayed in early access overall. I think this game will get better in the future, especially with the experimental mode on Steam. Hopefully, they will be patching the console versions of this game soon. However, I cannot recommend purchasing this game in its current state if you are only playing on console. If you're playing on Steam, I can recommend this because at least the devs are doing something about it immediately. And it's been over a month and there's still been no day one patch or no patch for the console version, so that is a little bit concerning. Actually, almost 2 months at this point. So yeah, I would give this game a 7 out of 10. I think the game is good. I think it's a good game, has a good foundation. I think there's a lot to build off of. Just like if you give me more weapons, more rooms, more enemy diversity, more boss diversity, and just more, I guess, more randomness in terms of what I'm encountering. Because like I said, after 10 hours, it felt like I was getting the same run every single time, the same build every single time, and it just, I just didn't want to keep playing the game at that point. But I think for 20 bucks, on the Steam version, I think it can be fun if you really are into roguelikes. If this is the genre you love and you want fresh rough air into it, I think you should definitely try it. And with updates, it'll definitely make it better. I would hope this game, does improve, but we'll have to find out. Well, guys, thanks for watching my review of Neon Abyss. I'll catch you guys next time with more reviews, impressions, Let's Plays, and any other content upload on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.